Hello, listeners. It is I, Golden J, coming to you with a brand new podcast. We're glad you tuned in. This is Golden 80's. And welcome to the Golden Mojo Entertainment family. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce Brandon Taylor. What's up, my dude?
Not much. What's up?
Hey, man, I don't know. I'm just excited to get this thing rolling, and we've been kind of working on doing pre-planning on everything we've been talking over for this particular podcast, and I'm excited to get into it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Should be exciting. I mean, both of us grew up in the 80's, right?
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. We're both old. Yeah, we lived it.
We lived it. We survived it. That's the most
We
important
survived
part.
it. Yeah, we survived the 80's.
Well, most everybody knows me. If you haven't run across me yet, you can find me on several other podcasts like the United States of Paranormal or Golden Image podcast or the MurdNerds or Indiana Chiefs fans. Those are all of my podcasts. Of course, this is Brandon's very first podcast. So we're going to break him in right, and he's going to just tell you about himself a little bit and some of the things that he's done and the exciting stuff,
Wow. I don't know if I've done anything real exciting. I mean, in the 80's, maybe I did, but currently I'm just a husband, dad, grandfather, kind of like Jeremy, work a 9-to-5 job,
right.
And, I'm trying to think.
Well, that's what we get up in the we get up we get up in the morning, we go to work, come home, stay at work because we're both married and for a long time. I mean, I've crested 30 years. How about you?
29.
29.
29 years.
I knew it'd been a long time. Now, for those that are tuning in that know Brandon, him and his wife and their two best friends love to go to Vegas.
Oh, absolutely. Love Vegas. Vegas.
You guys do that at least once a year? Do you guys do it more than once a year?
Nah, we just done it once a year. We didn't. Michelle and Rob went this year. We did not. We did. Marty's health has been kind of rocky right now. Marty, my wife.
Right.
Yeah, she's kind of went through some health issues, so we kind of pulled back this year and stayed home, saved money, let her get better.
Oh, yeah, but that's a big part of it right there. You saved money.
Saved money, absolutely. Yeah, didn't have to. Because Vegas isn't cheap. I don't care what they say.
What is your favorite thing to do, you and Marty? What is your favorite thing to do while you're in Vegas?
In Vegas? Oh, people watch.
Yeah.
I love watching people.
Yeah.
Or watching live bands out on Fremont Street. That's something you probably could have done in your younger days. Got a band together, moved out to Las Vegas, and made a living out of it.
Yeah.
Because there's always somewhere to play.
I often wondered about that, one of my favorite cities that I've only been there once, but man, I absolutely fell in love with it was New Orleans. And when you walk down Bourbon Street, man, there is just music coming out of every door. And it's actually on my bucket list is just to play one time in New Orleans at one of the bars down there. But I don't know that it'll ever happen, but man, I'm hoping, you know what I'm saying? I'm hoping that we'll get there someday, but just go down there, take my guitar and go play a little bit and see what happens. But
just grab you a bucket.
I'm sure I could rip out some serious. I don't know about Vegas because I've never been to Vegas. But in New Orleans, man, the street performers are everywhere. I mean, you can't turn a corner without seeing a street performer.
So
But
down
is
in
Vegas the
Vegas,
same way? There's a lot of them.
well, Vegas on Fremont Street, where a lot of the street performers are, they've got circles on the street, and you got to rent a circle. You can't just go there, pick a spot. You actually have to rent it for a certain
Right.
amount of time and get a what do you
Wow.
call it? A license or whatever to perform there.
Yeah, like a permit.
Permit. Yeah, that's it.
That's insane. I didn't realize that was a thing.
Yeah. 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 Because
I knew that. Where was I at? I was somewhere, like up in Michigan somewhere, maybe like in Holland or South Haven or something like that, where there were some street performers, and they were definitely watching for the cops. They'd play for a little bit, and they would just kind of pick up their stuff and move along if they saw the cops coming. But because I think a lot of them were just playing without permits and doing stuff like that. But
yeah,
I can't remember exactly where I was, but I thought that was a little crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Brandon and his wife Marty love Vegas. I know that, like I said, they do every year. Obviously, this year didn't happen. But some of the other crazy things that I know, Brandon is actually involved in wrestling.
Yes, I am.
Frankie
Vegas.
I don't know that he's a Frankie Vegas. I wonder where that name came from. You're basically give us a rundown. You're a manager.
I'm a manager. Right now, I'm a face or a good guy. I was a heel for a while. I was managing a mean Russian called the Russian Assassin. Yeah, people didn't like that too well, but I went back to being a good guy. Do it in Warsaw, part of the FWF. We do shows like twice a month at the CCAC in Warsaw.
Right on.
Yeah. I'm old, so I can't really get in there and do like a match or anything because I probably wouldn't be able to get up. But
Oh man, yeah, some of those bumps, man. I mean, yeah, I don't know that I don't know that I would have taken those in my younger days, let alone now.
Oh yeah. No, it's not. It's not bad.
Did you work with the Cletus the farmer?
Yes, I did.
I know him.
Yeah, very first match I did.
The very first.
Did, yeah, it was what was it? 1, 2, 3, 3-man, 6-man tag team or something like that, or 4-man.
Right.
And 4-man tag team and Cletus Farmer and tag team I was managing, and I can't remember who the other guy was now I'm thinking about it. And then, yeah, that was my very first match was working with Cletus Farmer.
Yep, I've known him for a long time. I knew his mom and dad, and I knew his mom and his stepdad. I should rephrase that. He was working on a podcast about wrestling and stuff like that, but I think he ran into some hiccups, and I'm not sure if he's doing it now. But hopefully he'll get it figured out. And told him to stick with it.
Yeah.
So, all right, ladies and gentlemen. So what we're now that we caught up with Brandon a little bit, and you know that he's a wrestling guy and a Vegas guy, and they mesh together. Well, Frankie Vegas.
Wait a minute, Jerry. I got to explain how we know each other.
Okay.
The way we know
let's do this.
The way we know each other is, people are wondering how we, got hooked up for this.
Right.
Go back to where my wife and Jeremy and his wife, they all went to school together at Triton High School.
Yes, we did.
So I'd always heard a lot about Jeremy and Bobby, the rocker chick. Then I ended up, I I knew who Jeremy was because I was a big fan of Shattered Image. Anybody, that was like
Really?
Jeremy's high school band or one of them. Yeah, I was a huge fan. I loved them. I thought you guys were gonna make it. You broke my heart. Broke up.
Yeah, well, it didn't do much for mine either. Let me tell you.
Hey, you got a few of the guys still around. You guys can get back together. Maybe replace a few parts.
Let's see. Well, the drummer, Scotty T, me and him played in bands for many years after that. And the lead guitar player and I played in different bands over the years. So we had that. The original bass player, I don't think he plays much anymore. But the bass player that we had in the second half of it, he's passed away late last year, I do believe. And of course, the lead guitar player passed away about a year and a half ago. So yeah, I'd have to replace at least 50% of that band.
yeah. But it was a fun band. It was a fun band to watch.
Well, I did not know that you were a fan of the old Shattered Image band.
Oh yeah, I love Shattered Image. I thought you guys were great. Then I got to know you guys because our kids went to school together. Specifically Josh and Montana.
Right.
Yeah, doing band,
yep,
musicals and plays and all that stuff. So I got to know you and Bobby through that.
Not only through the high school, but also through the Wagon Wheel program, which we spent a few. We spent many hours over there at that one.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, even since Josh is a year younger than Montana, and Montana went off to Ball State, and Josh got to do one more year. And I remember me and Bobby said, well, Josh is in the final play, so we're going to that. So we went and seen that final juniors play that they did. And then, of course, whenever we were down at Ball State, we always tried to make sure that we hooked up with Josh because, he ended up down there also the year after. But, yeah, good kid. I love that Josh. He's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, he's one of a kind.
He's pretty crazy. He's definitely one of a kind for sure.
Yes.
But yeah, me and Brandon have known each other for a long, long time. It's so funny that the interweaving intricacies of the years that I've known Marty, and then her best friend Michelle was involved with somebody I knew, and it just how all these things weave together over the years. It's just been kind of crazy. So, oh man, it's a small world when it gets down to it, but it's pretty crazy. Oh, love it. But yeah, small town Indiana. It's pretty exciting. And now Brandon works with my son.
Yes,
so to speak. They work at the same
Skywalker.
company. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we work at the same company. He's upper management. I am down low. So
you're like me. You're a peon. Just keep the oil on the cogs to keep things rolling. And he sits in the high office up there. And
my
he needs
contact
to clean that office. So if you're
that's not that bad, is it? I don't go up there.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
My contact with Skylar is just a bitch about the Wi-Fi not working.
There you go. Yeah, that's that's exactly. Oh yeah. This but I know the guys up there in the office. I've sat down with the big boss Jamie a couple times, and of course Rob. Rob was a hell of a guy up there. So Oh, and of course Cheryl. Don't forget about Cheryl.
Don't forget Cheryl.
She's family. I don't forget about Cheryl.
Yep. She's a Skywalker's mother-in-law.
That is correct. Yes. All right. Well, let's get into this a little bit. Let's talk about what we're doing here, the Golden 80's podcast. We are going to just revert back and start talking about anything and everything that we love so much about the 80's. We have a long list, and we keep adding to this list.
Yes.
We initially sat down and said, "Hey, you come up with 30, and I'll come up with 30." And we finished the list, and both of us went, "Well, I can come up with 30 more." So we have a long list. We plan on we plan on discussing anything from TV shows to movies, obviously, some of the big stuff, to 80's hair bands. Maybe an episode might be revolved around just some event that happened in the 80's. We have a nice fat list of those. We definitely want to talk about some of the wrestling from the 80's. We have a lot of experience and love for, the talent that came up in the 80's in the wrestling world. What else do we talk about? I don't have the list right up in front of me right now.
Yeah, we got, we talk movie, TV shows, like you said, just event that happened, not everything's going to be, fun and happy. I mean, there was a lot of tragic events that happened, that we'll talk about, be more serious, as they used to say in the 80's on TV, a very special episode,
There you go.
So.
Yeah, we got a nice long list, and we're hoping that our listeners will tune in and enjoy all these funny things that we're going to talk about, or not funny things. I mean, we got some serious stuff on the list too, for sure. But you never know. Old Golden Jay might show up in his flock of seagulls hairdo. You just don't know what he's going to do.
There you go. Yes,
I wonder if I could actually do that. I don't think my hair's long enough.
I don't have enough hair to do that anymore. Back in the 80's,
we get you a wig,
a mullet, and a wig. Yeah, I can't grow hair anymore. Back in the 80's, I rocked the mullet, So, but now my hair don't grow.
I rocked the mullet till somewhere in the 2000s, I do believe. So yeah, we got a lot planned for the 80's podcast, and you never know, we might get a guest on from time to time that might want to talk about something they know or what they went through, or you just never know. We're all playing this by ear right at the moment. We're just kind of trucking along and trying to put it all together and make it entertaining, and pretty excited. Hopefully we can get a bunch of people involved and listening and all that good stuff. So should be exciting.
And we'll take requests. If you have ideas, you can say we have a Facebook, an email. You let us know.
Yep.
We can try to work it in.
Yeah. What is that email?
That email is.
I put him on the spot again. Look at that.
Ah, shoot. Golden. Is it goldenimage80s at gmail.com?
There you go. And what's our Facebook address?
The Golden 80's at Facebook. You put it in there.
There you go.
You'll find it.
It's all there, people.
Yeah, I'm
all
not Chico Noid. I don't do the socials.
I just want to see if you were on it. I just want to see if you were on it. I knew you would be. I knew you would be.
Yeah.
It'd be
Hey,
great.
I am new at this, and I will get better as we go along.
It is the golden image 80s at gmail.com. I don't know. Did we get the at the very beginning of that? We got to make sure we have the on there for sure. All right, gang. Well, that's a little bit about us and what we're doing and our backgrounds. And yeah, I'm going to have to break out one of my Shattered Image t-shirts. Ain't I?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
From the day. All right. Well, this is episode number 1. We talked about doing, an episode 0, but I just want to do a short introduction of the two of us. So you're going to get to know us as we go along here, and some of the things that we talk about. So as we progress, you will learn more and more about us, and yeah, all that good stuff. It's been a really long day. You'll have to forgive me. My brain is mush.
I understand.
But today, yeah. But today we're going to get into what we're going to talk about first up. So this is episode number 1. You've met us, and now we're going to take you back to the 80s. Brandon, you want to tell them what we're going to talk about today?
Today we are going to talk about one of the big filmmakers, director, producer, writer of the 80s that had a pretty big impact on the 80s of a lot of the stuff that he came up with, and that would be John Hughes. Be able to say it, spit it out. He did stuff like The Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, Home Alone. I mean, he just did. I mean, he got a massive list. But yeah, I mean, there's a movie in there of his that you will know.
Oh yeah. It's interesting because as I've been researching and talking about this podcast and talking about where we're starting off with, that was one of the things that I would ask people is like, do you know who John Hughes is? And a lot of people would look at me like, no, who is that? And it's crazy to me that they don't know John Hughes, but they definitely know what movies, or at least one of his movies, because they were so popular. One of the first ones that he ever came out with, where he actually was a writer, was okay, let's backtrack just a little bit before we get into those movies. John Hughes bounced around quite a bit. He wasn't really one of those, I grew up in this particular town type guy. He kind of bounced around with his family. Yeah. His dad was a salesman. Is that correct? I'm going to have to think about that just 1 second.
Yeah.
But his dad was a salesman. Dad worked in sales. He's always looking for new and exciting things. And so he kind of bounced around a little bit. So he ended up being that kid in school. He was just kind of shy and off to the corner. And he was more about writing stories and stuff like that. So as he got a little bit older, he actually started sending in just some stories and stuff to National Lampoon's magazine, and the head of it fell in love with his stories. So hence, John actually starts working for National Lampoon, and his first movie that he actually had written was a National Lampoon. It was called Class Reunion.
Yes.
But unfortunately, it tanked. It didn't do very well.
Yeah.
But they still loved him at National Lampoon, so they definitely kept him on. So that was in 1982 when they released that. In 83, he released a little known movie called Mr. Mom. Do you remember that one?
I do.
With Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton, yeah. Batman. I am Batman.
That's a later 80s thing we'll talk about down the road.
Oh,
But yeah, Michael Keaton and Mr. Mom. And then there was also another movie that came out in 83 called National Lampoon's Vacation.
oh yeah.
Now,
Classic.
I don't know that many people know that that's a John Hughes movie.
Yeah, I don't think they do. I don't think anybody would ever connect the two. Because the
No,
movie
definitely not.
Because I think the movie that people who know who he is are a certain genre of movie. You know, the Brat Pack movies, I guess what you'd call them, and that's the one to
Well,
everybody.
yeah, the Brat Pack or the teen movies. He
Yeah.
kind of got that whole stamp as being a teen movie guy writer. Vacation with Chevy Chase is just an amazing movie.
Yeah.
But it's funny because if you look back, the kid that played the son was Anthony Michael Hall,
Oh, yeah.
who you now know from a little movie called The Breakfast Club,
Absolutely. Oh,
which came out
love that movie.
in 84. That's one of the best movies ever.
Mhm.
So you get Anthony Michael Hall in with being with Chevy Chase on Vacation, moving on to The Breakfast Club, also moving on to another movie called 16 Candles, which also come out in 85, and another movie in 85 called Weird Science. So Anthony Michael Hall is basically in all of these John Hughes movies, when he started on, which I thought was pretty crazy. I love it. It is said that actually Anthony Michael Hall and John Hughes become really good friends and spend a lot of time together, even outside of the movie production.
Yes. Oh yeah.
But also, Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club, and 16 Candles had a newcomer that come into play by the name of Molly Ringwald.
Yes.
And rumor has it that those movies were actually written for her because she was kind of John Hughes' muse.
Yes. Yes.
So I don't, John was married. I don't believe there was ever any funny stuff going on that I had seen in my research between the two of them.
No, I never seen anything like that. She was actually a teenager. She was playing her age in her movie.
Yeah, she was. So. She was. So,
and he was, yeah, and he was older. So
30s,
it wasn't.
Yeah, 30 something.
I mean, I guess in Hollywood that don't necessarily mean anything, but But yeah, I've never
John
read
Hughes
anything
born
or seen anything.
John Hughes born February 18th, 1950. Yeah,
50.
So he's a February guy. He's actually only 2 days off of my birthday. So bam! All the cool people are born in February.
My wife's birthday's on the 18th, February 18th.
Oh snap!
They share a birthday. Mm-hmm.
Like I said, all the cool people are born in February. It's just the way it is.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I'll agree with that.
So, yeah, you're gonna have to. She beats your ass.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Hey, that's a Triton woman thing. You go. Bobby, Mardell. They were in the same class. Always marry a Triton woman. They will keep you straight.
On the straight and narrow. That is correct.
Yeah.
So that gives you 85 Breakfast Club. I take that back. 16 Candles was 84. Breakfast Club 85. Weird Science 85. National Lampoon's European Vacation, which was kind of a flop, come out in 85. 1986, Pretty in Pink, and then probably one of his biggest movies ever, which is still a cult classic, come out in 1986, a little movie called Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Bueller.
I mean, come on, man. Yeah. Bueller. Uh, not only Matthew Broderick, but some other great actors in there. It's an early Jennifer Grey, way before Dirty
Oh
Dancing.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I don't know how way before, but definitely before. I do believe, but there's a young Charlie Sheen in there.
Mhm.
Um, Jones was it? I can't. That was it. I want to say Jerry Jones, but I think that's wrong. I can't remember who played the principal. I'm gonna draw a blank on
The
that.
principal.
But yeah, just an amazing flick that Hughes did. Pretty
Jeffrey
insane.
Jones.
Jeffrey Jones. There you go.
Yeah.
I was close. I had the Jones right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, Also, coming in '87, a little movie called Some Kind of Wonderful, which I don't know that I've seen that one. It's got
I have not
It's got
seen
Eric
that one.
Stoltz in it.
Yeah. I have to go back and watch it. I don't think I've ever watched that one. Yeah.
It's
So I'm not
beyond me.
familiar.
I've
I
not
mean,
seen that one.
I know what it is. I just have not actually watched
Right.
it. I've heard of it.
I need to go check it out because it looked like it was like a pretty good movie. But once again, we're still in that whole teen angst, style movie.
Yeah.
With like all of those Ferris and
that's
16
what he knows.
Candles, the
That's
whole
what
9
people
yards.
know him.
Yeah, for sure. Also in '87, a little Planes, Trains, and Automobiles came out.
Yeah.
Which I believe is probably his next kind of muse or the talent that he kind of wrapped himself around with John Candy.
Yeah, John Candy.
Obviously Steve Martin's in that movie. And there was a lot of love between Steve and John. Don't get me wrong, but him and John Candy kind of went on to do other movies like Uncle Buck, The Great Outdoors, Home Alone. John didn't have a big spot in Home Alone, but Uncle Buck came out in '89 along with probably the greatest one, or it's got to be the greatest. It's got to be the greatest of all time. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh yeah,
Boom.
definitely.
What more can I say?
Definitely a good one. I'll take Vegas Vacation, but that's okay. I'm not judging. I'm not judging.
That's because you. Well, Mr. Papadakle. When did Vegas Vacation come out? What year did Vegas Vacation come out? Any idea?
I don't know.
I don't have it on my list. Did John Hughes not write Vegas Vacation?
I don't think he did. I did not see that. That was I don't see him. It was Vegas Vacation, the first theatrical vacation film not to carry the National Lampoon label or a screenwriting credit from John Hughes. So he was not involved in that one.
Interesting. What's interesting is that Chevy Chase's kids change. So
yeah, every movie
I mean, you start off with Anthony Michael Hall, and you end up with Johnny Galecki.
Yeah. I always wondered why that was. That's one of those questions. Why do they always change the kids?
I don't know.
Everybody else
I don't know.
is the same.
It's not. Yeah, Uncle Eddie. And Eddie's wife. Those are always the same. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they did it. I just know it was odd. And of course, my two favorite Russes are Anthony Michael Hall and Johnny Galecki. You might know Johnny Galecki from The Big Bang Theory. Yeah. Or Roseanne, for that matter. Yeah. Which is pretty crazy to think that he was doing that before he did Roseanne. because in Christmas Vacation he was just a little pudgy kid, kind of short. It's like you can see it's him in his face, but if you were in a lineup, I don't know that you would have picked him out. But
no, probably not.
John Hughes's credits are just amazing. He didn't do a ton of directing, although I did hear that all the actors really liked working with him. He was very easy to get along with, was always open to suggestions, and Emilio Estevez and Judd Nelson both said that in a couple of documentaries that I seen, that they was like, if they had an idea, they took it to him, and he was, well, let's try that, let's run that.
Yep.
Judd Nelson's a big advocate for John in some of those documentaries.
Yeah.
I remember him as John Bender in The Breakfast Club.
John Bender.
So let's just, these are all, majority of these are all stuff that he has written. So the, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, he directed it, he wrote it, he produced it, but The Great Outdoors, he did not direct. Uncle Buck, he directed that. Christmas Vacation, he did not direct it. So let's just kind of go over. I'm just going to run down this list. Because it takes me into the 90s and also into the 2000s, which doesn't necessarily veg with what the 80s is. But so yeah, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. She's Having My Baby, The Great Outdoors, Uncle Buck, Christmas Vacation, Home Alone, Career Opportunities, Dutch, Curly Sue, Beethoven, Home Alone 2, Dennis the Menace, Baby's Day Out, Miracle on 34th Street, 101 Dalmatians, Flubber, Home Alone 3, Reach the Rock. I don't know that one. That was a late 90s movie. Just Visiting, and Made Manhattan. Yeah. So yeah, the amount of writing that John Hughes has done for all these movies is actually just mind-boggling, to be 100%. It's amazing that he is not more of a household name, but those four, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and National Lampoon's Vacation, the series of Vacation, I think, are probably his biggest hits, biggest movies.
Well,
pretty remarkable career.
Those would be his biggest 80s movies, but Home Alone was probably his masterpiece, I guess most people would say.
Right. I could see that.
That was the 1990. That was the 1990s. So
we're not a 90s podcast, people.
We're not a 90s podcast. Talk about us. We kind of grew up.
I did find that a lot of things that were, yeah, for sure. Yeah, we were born in the 70s, but the 80s are still a little bit of a blur because we were still pretty young. But I did find that a lot of the things we're going to talk about do kind of flow into the 90s a little bit too. So you probably get a little bit of the 90s stuff coming at you, but mostly we're going to talk about the 80s. Yeah. And John Hughes, I think, is probably one of the biggest influencers of the 80s and the culture of that time. So for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He did make a couple of appearances in his own movies. Like in The Breakfast Club, he played Brian's dad.
Yeah.
And apparently in Ferris Bueller, he played a man running through the cab between cabs. I missed that part, apparently. that's where Stan Lee got it from. Maybe that's why Stan Lee decided to do it.
Maybe. Yeah.
You just never know. Unfortunately, the critics didn't love John Hughes quite as much as we all do now. Back then, these movies came out, and he took it on the chin. A lot of critics did not care much for the movies, and he took a lot of ridicule over these movies. And I still think it stands strong to go and look at what he did even beyond that in the 90s and so on, of still just going at it and still writing and still doing some producing. uh, but I believe that it truly got the best of him, because John turned into pretty much a recluse.
Yes. Yes.
He would not come out of his house. He didn't want to talk to anybody. He didn't want to interview with anybody. He just, basically just stayed inside and really didn't do much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you run across that much in your?
Yeah. Well, the documentary I watched, it was called "Don't You Forget About Me," which was a take on the song from the Breakfast Club, which give you a kind of a quick synopsis of it. It's just a group of young filmmakers are wanting to go find John Hughes, doing a documentary on him. They want to give him what they've got done so he can see it. So they're trying to locate him, find him, and they find his house, but they don't ever get to speak with him. Um, and they really talked about it a lot. A lot of the interviews and stuff when people have been trying to reach out to him and speak with him, and people. Judd Nelson was a big one. We've really been trying to get in touch, and he just couldn't. He just wouldn't return phone calls or anything like that. Emails, and it's kind of sad, really.
It is, because like I said, as I watched that same documentary, because Brandon called me and was like, "Hey, I'm getting ready to watch this documentary," and I'm like, "Damn, I better watch that myself." I personally didn't care for the documentary. It wasn't for the fact that the information that they had. I didn't care for the squabbling of the filmmakers.
Yeah,
You had the one that thought he ruled the roost, and the other one that thought she
yeah,
ruled the roost, and there was just a lot of squabbling and pissing and moaning, and I just, that portion of it I didn't like. I loved the interviews that they had with Ali Sheedy,
yeah,
Judd Nelson,
yeah.
and Carl. I can't remember what Carl's actual name is, the one that played
Carl.
the janitor. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I thought that stuff was great, but the behind the scenes filming of a documentary they're filming just did not appeal to me. I just didn't care much for them. So I mean, take that for what it
yeah,
is. But they sent John a letter and a copy of the film, and he just sent it straight back to him. Didn't there?
yeah,
So it just goes to show that they had nothing solid to even work with. I mean, it was just a documentary about
yeah.
them trying to go and find him.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, as if you're wanting a solid documentary on John Hughes, I wouldn't recommend it for that. I would recommend it for to hear some good feedback from people he's worked with. To hear their comments. But as far as like Jeremy said, the people making the film, I could have done without them.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. There are some things on YouTube, interviews with John. I've been watching those. There's some pretty good ones. The one that he did with Steve Martin and John Candy, where they talk about planes, trains, and automobiles. I can't remember what forum that was in, but that was actually, it was, like I said, Steve Martin, and just cannot say enough nice things about John Hughes. So that's all. Coming from Steve Martin, I think that's a big praise.
Yes.
But yeah, so you can check out some different things on YouTube. That's where I checked a lot of my stuff out and listened to him. The man is brilliant. I truly believe that
Oh,
John Hughes was a
absolutely.
brilliant filmmaker and a brilliant writer, that I think actually took it on the chin, because people just didn't understand what he was going for. And, I think that it just took a while for it to kind of sink in and everybody realized what great work he did. So it's at the moment, it's like everything else, people just don't get something new and something different. And, you know, I personally think that it just kind of worked him over, and that's why he became the recluse that he became.
Yeah, yeah. I would agree. I would definitely agree with that. But it's funny now because, like you were talking, how the critics were really kind of downplaying his movies and, not really liking him. Now they all say, what a genius he was. And, I just
Right.
think, which way is it? Did you like him or didn't you like him?
Make up your damn mind.
Yeah, exactly. Sons of bitches.
Yeah. Once again, though, I mean, even you made a comment just a minute ago. The name of the documentary was "Don't You Forget About Me," which was a Simple Minds song.
Yes.
And I do believe that Simple Minds didn't even actually want to do it, but I think they're pretty happy now that they did.
Yeah.
I mean,
They did not have any desire. But yeah, they did not, from what I took of it, they weren't really interested at all in doing the song.
right.
I'm glad they did. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. It's a great song. And even the whole entire, I mean, I had the Breakfast Club soundtrack for when I was a kid. I mean, there's tons of great music on there. So, uh, just amazing songs. And of course, you watch the movie and that's, where you're at with it. But yeah, just a lot of fun to listen to. But John was very much into the music scene. He was a musician himself. And so the music became extremely important. And I actually listened to a couple different interviews where he talked about he would change up the scenes to actually just go with the music that he had picked out for those areas. So the guy was cutting edge.
Too.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, absolutely. He was in front of his time, or however you say that. He was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me get your opinion on this, Jeremy. Yeah, I go back to like watching The Breakfast Club, which side ran on that. I've had Saturday school, and that's bullshit. It ain't nothing like that. Okay, side rant. But anyway, do you think that he kind of accurately portrayed what we were like in the 80s? I mean, do you think that fit the typical, the jock, the princess, the criminal, the brain, and whatever Ali Sheedy was?
I think yes. I think he kind of nailed it, because I can go back and look, and I didn't really think about it, but because the Breakfast Club come out in what we say 84 or is 83? Trying to remember.
84.
It came out in 84. So or no, 85. I'm sorry. The Breakfast Club comes out in 85. By the time that I had actually watched it, we're talking a little bit later in the 80s. Being in high school. So if I look back at my high school, people that I really ran around with, I could tell you the princess, I could tell you the jock, I could tell you the criminal, I could tell you the basket case, and I could, definitely point out the brain. So, yeah, I think that his recollection of all them is spot on. Now, not all of them were my age. Not all of them were my grade. You'd have to bounce around a little bit in those 4 years to get those. But not the jock. The jock. Every year had a jock. Every class had their had their sports hero or whatever, but
Yeah.
to maybe find the basket case or the criminal, you might have to jump around a little bit, or even the brain. Some of us were just average, we were just average students along the way, but
Where'd you
definitely
fit
I
in,
could
Jeremy?
get you all this. They didn't have the rock star in there, so that was I was just a rock star at that time,
You
man.
were the rock star. Yeah.
I was the rock star. Unfortunately, I think that falls into the criminal section of
Yeah.
our playbook here.
Unfortunately, that's where I fell. I would have been in the criminal category.
In the
I wasn't a
criminal,
criminal, but I wasn't a criminal.
yeah,
I chose to hang out on that side of the tracks.
right. As well, that was the funnest place to do. That was the best place to be at. Was on that side of the track.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, that's where all the best activity were. I do definitely miss those days. Not a lot of responsibility back then.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what was fun. That was real fun about it, But I thought everything about the '80s. I thought the music was better, the movies were better, the TV shows were better, and we'll get into all that, as we move along.
Yeah, for sure.
The '80s was just, and I'm sure the '90s people say, no, the '90s were better. No, the '70s were better. You're gonna have those arguments. They're wrong.
Man, you get the music was definitely different. We're gonna go from 80s hair metal to grunge in the 90s, So, yeah, we definitely had the better music. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
I love Kurt Cobain. Don't get me wrong, but I think that as a musician, he was just I don't know, a little bit average. So.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion. I'm sure I'll hear about it, but I loved Nirvana's music. I'm a big Dave Grohl fan, but I just never come off as Kurt Cobain being the great songwriter. That's, I guess, is what I want to get at. But hey, I wasn't there, and people love him, so there you have it.
But anyway.
But yeah, we had all the great ones in the '80s. The L.A. Guns, the Poisons, the Rat, yeah. You guys just wait. We're gonna get into some serious shit.
Oh yeah. And I'll get better.
All right, Brandon. Anything you want to?
I promise. Really quick.
Anything you want to touch on John Hughes, real quick?
Yeah. Say he passed away in 2009. I guess they were visiting his son in New York. He went out for a walk and dropped of a heart attack. Guess he was pronounced. They pronounced him dead at the hospital. Just sad because I think about kind of when I was reading on that, it kind of hit me. Kind of hit me hard because like I said, I'm getting up there. I'm in my 50s. Jeremy's 50.
Yep.
And it just makes me think, I could be walking out to go to work tomorrow, and that's it. And
yep.
It made me, John Hughes made me think in death. Even when he died, he made me think. So
right.
Tragic way he had to go, and then, but yeah, that's just I kind of want to touch on that.
I'm a firm believer in getting up every day and doing everything you can possibly do in one single day, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. So get out there, live your life, because you never know. You, like you said, you could be walking out to your car to go to work in the morning and not make it to the car. Nobody wants to see that, but it's just a reality of life. What is it? Death and taxes are the only thing that are for sure in this life. So, yep. And so yeah, get out and live your life every day. And unfortunately for for John, he felt that he needed to be secluded in his home and not out in the world and sharing, his gifts with the rest of us, his directing. And I mean, he was still doing some writing into the 2000s, but not a ton. And it was just too bad because me and Brandon think he was a genius, and we wish we'd had more.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I would have loved to have seen what he would do now, when, with some of these films, or what his thoughts would be.
Right.
Oh, but, he just didn't really share those.
He'd probably look at some of these new things. He'd probably look at some of these new ones with like disgust in his eyes.
Probably.
How many Fast and Furious is you gonna make? Come on, Vin Diesel, stop.
I will not say a bad thing about Fast and Furious. That is my wife's favorite movies. She would leave me for Vin Diesel. She would leave me for Vin Diesel so fast. She wouldn't even have to think about it.
Oh, believe me, I know exactly what I'm talking about. Mine just happens to be Supernatural boys. If any of those guys would show up, my life with her is over. She'd be like, "Here's the keys of the car. See you later." But it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. Well, that is our little synopsis there of John Hughes. We hope you enjoyed, talking some John Hughes with you. We're enjoying so far the research. It brings back a lot of memories for me, and I learned a lot of new things along the way. Of course, you think you know everything from the 80s, but you really don't. So it's good to research and learn all about these things. So we're excited for that. Yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap this up for this episode, Brandon. And
all right.
So let me put in some plugs. All right. Are you ready?
Right. Absolutely.
Chico, where's my socials? Damn, there ain't no Chico here to do my socials. Son of a gun.
No.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for checking out the Golden 80's podcast. Me and Brandon, thank you for tuning in and getting all the way to the end as our shenanigans go on and on and on. But you can, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always hit us up at our email at thegoldenimage80s@gmail.com, or look for us on Facebook, Golden 80's. We are working on the page. Brandon's hard at it. He's been putting some posts out and stuff like that. So hit him up. You can IM him or whatever you want to do. But that's where you can find us right at this moment. We are working on more. We will, of course, have all kinds of cool shit coming at you eventually. So bear with us, but please enjoy the show as we progress on. And if you like Golden 80's, maybe you'll like something else from the Golden Mojo Entertainment empire. That's right. It is an empire, and I am building it. On Mondays, you can check out The Call Guys. That is with Colton and Gunner, where they talk all kinds of pop culture. What's new on Disney Plus? And did Colton get rid of that terrible infection next to his butthole? You just never know. You're going to have to wait and see next week. On Tuesdays, it is Golden Image Podcast with me, Golden Jay, the Skywalker, and Chico Noise, as we go out and do things so you'll want to go out and do things. And then, of course, on the off weeks, it's me doing interviews with interesting people. I've had some really good ones so far, so hopefully you're enjoying those. On Wednesdays, check out the United States of Paranormal. That is me, the Rocker Chicken, J-Dub, as we take you on a road trip across America to all the spooky, cryptid, creepy places that you want to go. And sometimes it's just a little hard to sleep at night, I'm not going to lie. On Thursdays during the regular season, that is, it is the Indiana Chiefs Fans podcast with me. Yeah, that's right. It's still me. I'm still doing podcast every night of the week with Chico and our friend Phil. We call him the Chief, where we talk about our favorite team, the Kansas City Chiefs. On Friday, it's a double dose. You get the MurdNerds with Ashley and Alicia, where they talk all true crime all the time. They travel all over the United States, telling you about murder and hopefully getting these stories out there so that they get a chance to be heard again in case you missed it. Or if you're not into murder, that's cool, man. I dig it. If you're not into murder or, that kind of shit, then you can go check out your basement book club. It is called A Court of Books and Booze. That is with this Skywalker, Jessica, and Amanda, where they read some big ass books and then they tell you all about them.
So you don't have to.
And, it's a lot. Yeah. They read books so you don't have to. I like that. Skywalker. Everybody should use that. I'm going to call him here in a little bit and be like, we got your new tagline. We read books so you don't have to. It's great. And on the off weeks, they put out every 2 weeks, and on the off weeks, they have a great little edition called the Milk and Cookie edition, where they sit down with right now it's been everything has just been Aspen, but he's doing a great job of jumping on, being in the podcast and talking about children's books and his opinion on these children's books. So if you get a chance, go check out A Court of Books and Booze, either the regular on or the off weeks where they do the Milk and Cookies. Either one of them is great. So that is the Golden Mojo Entertainment empire right there. I'm very proud of all these shows and everybody that's putting in their time and effort to try to make these as popular as I possibly can. So thank you, everybody. Brandon, anything you want to say on the way out?
Hey, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Give us your feedback. Every suggestion helps. We will listen to all of them. Thank you, Jeremy, for doing this with me, or me doing it with you, however you want to look at it. I will get better at this, I promise. I'm learning as I go. But yeah. Hey, man, pilot episode right here, big dog. It's all good. No worries. Hey, there you go. So everybody, just get in your DeLorean or your phone booth, go back and watch an 80's film and a John Hughes film, more specific. Oh, yeah. You said phone booth, man. Tonight it might be a Bill and Ted night. You better watch out. All right, gang. Well, until next week, peace out. We'll see you later. Peace. Rock on.